Linda ngobulali nomonde Linda ngobulali nomonde Linda 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 ungasoli Genye mini sohamba naye siguqulwe kulomzimba nxa simbonayo ngenye imini sohlala naye haleluya ithi ngelihle xa simbonayo ukubonana ngobuso noKristu umsindisi lo banjani na uvuyo lokumbona uYesu ukubonana ngobuso ngaphaya kwenkwenkwezi ebuqaqawulini bakhe ndakumbona ngobuso ndakumbona ngobuso
Hello and welcome to our STASA India virtual conference. My name is Sipho Malimela, STASA Campus Ministries Director and STASA Professionals Overseer, for those of you who do not know who I am. For today, I will be holding an interesting interview with an esteemed guest that will be sharing some business tips and insights for the duration of the 60 minutes which we'll be together. Now, if you want to be part of this particular conversation and enjoy what we have in store for you, get a pen, get a paper, call a friend, call another friend, tell them that we're on air and we're about to have an exciting conversation. So we're going to take a quick break to allow you to catch a breath, take a seat, and get a pen and paper. And after the break, you'll get to meet the exciting guests that we have in store for you today. We'll meet after the break. Thank you. Welcome back to our STASA India virtual conference. Now, before we took a break, I told you that today we have an interesting guest in store for you. Now, let me quickly give you the bio of the person that we have in store before we welcome them to the program. Our guest is a former group CEO of Saab Green Tech and also has worked for Telkom and IBM. Currently, he's a non-executive director for Tiger Brands, Marsh Africa, Zenser Technologies, TIVSID, and GL Events. He is the chairman of the board of SMEC and the executive director of Capella Holdings, which is an investment firm that has investments in predominantly multinational companies such as BPSA, NEC, and CFAO of Japan, and other similar ventures. Makup, Nyama, is a member of Dube Central Seventh-day Adventist Church in Soweto and has served in various church functions, starting from local, district, and conference level. He is currently a member of the TOC Stewardship Council. Last but not least, he is also married to Tsidi, and together they have been running workshops on personal finance management for over 20 years. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome to your screen Mr. Makup Nyama. Welcome to our event, and thank you for taking the time to be with us, Mr. Nyama.
Thank you, Sipho Nkosi. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Yes. From reading your bio, I just wonder, do you feel there's more that still needs to be done? This is where you wanted to see yourself. But normally, how does hearing your bio make you feel?
Well, when you read my bio, I like the latter part about the church, not the former part.
Yeah.
But I think it's a journey. It tells you about the journey which I've traveled. And then it explains where one has been and what one has gone through in life.
Yeah.
And that is what we could share in terms of the ups and downs, the lessons learned, the maturity that came with it, and the church influence in those portfolios that one held.
I want to perhaps just take it maybe in that particular direction to say, can you give us a view in terms of growing up? I see it says you're from Dube Central. I'm not sure whether then you grew up in Soweto, but your upbringing, where's home, and how is the family set up? Siblings, how many siblings, the family structure, just to get a bit of insight here into the early years.
Yeah, I grew up in Limpopo, the 90 km from the nearest town, Mokopane. We were siblings of 8, 2 girls and 6 boys, living in a rural area.
Oh.
My father ran some businesses in that area. So I grew up there. I went to school in Polokwane, high school and varsity at the University of the North.
Okay.
And now it's called University of Limpopo. And then only here in Soweto I came in the early 80s, when I was like
Just
anybody else looking for employment, looking for a future.
And the gold.
And the gold that everybody was chasing. That's when I came to Johannesburg.
You speak about having 8 siblings. Where were you, the firstborn, the lastborn, in the middle?
I'm the second born. My elder brother is still around. He lives in Krugersdorp. And the others are all over the place. But we lost the lastborn through a car accident. But we're still around.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm asking the question to kind of maybe ask that particular environment, like you're saying, from Limpopo, and I mean the settings back then, right? Mm-hmm. What would you say are the key things that have helped you, or that you've learned from that particular environment that has helped you to be the person that you are today?
In our family, because my dad ran some businesses. He was a teacher by profession. But those businesses gave us responsibility. They taught us responsibility. I used to make deliveries of goods before going to class every day.
So you got very early.
Yeah, so we used to do that. And coming back from school, we had responsibility to go and do deliveries to customers.
Yeah.
But what is very important is that when I was at varsity, my father bought 2 tractors. So I was working, riding those tractors, working in the fields. You wouldn't recognize me during those days because the dust would be all over me, drifting the fields of people, 5-acre fields. And that way we managed to make money for ourselves, to go to school. And that gave us responsibility to know that you have to work to earn a living. You
Nothing
have
for
to work,
mahala, yeah.
nothing for mahala. And our dad was not just generous. No, you had to work for something. We worked for our school fees. We worked for our pocket money. And then we were very responsible.
Sure.
And he taught us responsibility from that age.
So currently, is this something that you, maybe with your current family and your children, that you instill the issue of how? Because I understand maybe you won't have a tractor to put them in, but is this something that you really feel is, you know?
I think it's very critical. What we're trying to teach our children is that, you know, you've got, there are responsibilities that we can do to take you to school.
Yeah.
But after we have taken you to school, it is now your responsibility to build yourself. You know, I'm against the notion or the idea of taking your child to school, and then you buy him a car, and then you buy him a townhouse. Now, what is he using that education for?
Yeah.
If you give him all these things, now we are creating a give-me society. He's got to learn that for him to get somewhere, he's got to work for it.
Sure.
He's got to earn it. So that is the type of education I'm trying to give to my son. I said to him, you know, the day I see your independence, that you are doing your own things.
Yeah.
You've got your own family, which he's got now, and he's doing his own things, and I'm happy about it. He's independent, you know. That's what I want to see. You know, he'll be independent in his own way. We go through different journeys. He may not necessarily walk the walk I have walked, but definitely he's got to learn that for him to get somewhere, because if we don't do that, your child will get into corporate South Africa. And when he gets there, because he has received all the time.
It's a jungle there now.
Yeah, he's been given everything. Everything he wanted, he was given. But there, he's got to perform. He's got to be recognized for his performance. Now, if you never inculcated that culture in him, he's not going to perform at work.
I think there's a lot to chew on, because there's also, depending on the quality of the school that you send, and then if every other child has a car, etc., right? There's those particular pressures that they exert on you as the parents based on the school you sent them to.
Yeah.
But also, I just think maybe if we just speak about then the current education system, right? And what do you feel or think about it in terms of its ability then to prepare children and citizens to become economically active and to be self-sustaining, to be able, like you said, to become independent adults who are able to actually survive on themselves and not create dependence? Or is there a particular value? But what do you see with the current education system?
Yeah, remember the major education system starts at home.
Yes, true.
Yeah, when we have a very good value system at home, your children, when they leave home to go and study, they are responsible children. And then whatever education is there to offer them, they will make the best of it. Now, I know that some people are saying our education system may not be the best. Yes, it may not be perfect, but you can never go wrong with education. And we have seen what it has produced, even during apartheid years. You know, there are doctors, there are engineers. Now we have engineers even more. You know, we've got scientists now today. So we can never go wrong with education. If you look at what technology is all about, this technological advancement we have today, it's education. If you look at the infrastructure, I mean, SMEC, which I'm heading now as the chairman of the board, is the one that is designing bridges. They design roads. They design buildings. They design mind-boggling stuff. You go to KZN, the roads they have, the intersections they have designed there. They don't only do them here. It's a global organization, and they design this globally. And South African engineers are even designing those infrastructures in Australia, in Singapore, all over the place. Because of what? Education.
So-
This education, South African
Yeah.
education.
I think then the point is you really believe in education
Yeah.
as a core tenet to success and creating I think successful young people. Maybe just a little bit on from yourself. What did you study and what influenced it? Because I think for most of us, what we study is incidental and kind of those kind of things. But did you have a clear vision of this is where I want to go? This is then what I need to study, or what was your journey from an education perspective and how you got to having the qualifications you have?
I think initially, to be honest, I didn't know what.
Yeah.
It was a question of what do I like to do?
Yeah.
What is interesting out there to do that could give me a better future? We never have the best career guidance those days.
Yeesh.
Yeah, so what I studied was commerce and accounting at varsity. But once I completed that and I began to face reality, the future, and as to what now the world expects of me, I decided to look for things that will add value to my profile, that would make me saleable to the industry. And I did diploma in marketing management, a postgrad diploma with UNISA, and then I did a Master of Business Administration, MBA, with the West Business School. The reason why I did the MBA is because I was in an institution, in an organization where I saw all my fellow black
Colleagues
who were ahead of me. They were all at first level management. And they have been there for 10 years and they have never grown beyond that. And I decided that for me to be able to position myself to levels beyond first level management to executive management in future, I had to do something that would profile me accordingly. And the West Business School came to my mind. Then I did my MBA, and then immediately after completing my MBA, that's when I left. I went to Telecom, where I became an executive later in the years there.
I mean, this is very interesting. In your view, then, what would you say would be the cause of, I'd say, maybe the complacency of, like you're saying, your colleagues being happy with first level management, not furthering their studies, like getting their MBAs, etc. And maybe I'm just going to that importance of saying the people that are watching the show, they probably either are also in mid-management and maybe trying to also break the particular ceiling. And some people are just happy with a bachelor's degree and that value of being able to really go and study. And because now you're also, a director of a board and you sit in these high strategic areas, the value of then that particular education and its requirements to be able to help you to navigate at those particular, levels.
Yeah, there are a number of factors that made people to remain where they are. Remember, it was in the 80s.
Okay.
And then
Before
the opportunities were not there
for
black people. So you had to have something extraordinary to be recognized.
Yes.
Now, the opportunities that were there in those companies were exclusive to certain race groups.
Yes.
So you understand, it is not because they were there by choice in that first level management.
Okay.
But the only thing they could do is to leave that company and go somewhere else, which is what I decided to do. And I said, if I stay in this organization, this is where I'm going to be. But if I do something that will advance my profile, I will have the opportunity to go somewhere. And so it was a matter of choice. Now, some people have been there for 10 years and loyal, and they are looked after. They are paid very well. And also, it depends on the person.
Because, some see it as the corporate trap.
Yeah.
Where
the other
you
thing
are comfortable,
is your ambitions in life. You want to grow. You want to be something better than what you see.
Yeah.
So, by God's grace, and I need to bring God in the picture all the time, because by God's grace, God will lead you if you bring him into your life. about your ambitions, and he'll lead you. And then I happen to be blessed in many ways, because even in most positions I got, I was called. I was led in most cases,
Okay.
because it is by his grace that we have become.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a quick break, and then I want to continue on this particular, I think, door which you have opened, to introduce maybe even the issue of then the church and maybe its role, but also go into some of the deeper issues that then have to be navigated in this particular role. So we're going to go to a quick break, but when we come back, we'll continue with the conversation, and we speak about then business and the spiritual side of things and ethics and all those things that are related to those things. We'll be back after the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to our Stasa India virtual conference with me, Sipho. I have an interesting guest today, a renowned businessman, Mr. Makup, Nyama. And before the break, we were just talking about his upbringing, education, and we had just started also talking about the leading of God in terms of some of the opportunities that have opened up for him. Mr. Nyam, let's now maybe speak about the church, right? What would you say has the church assisted with, or did the church have any particular role that it played in terms of developing you and helping you to be the person that you are today, from a business sense?
Yeah, I just want to make this thing very clear. If it wasn't the church, I don't believe I would be in the positions I've been.
Okay.
And I believe that wholeheartedly. I came into a church, Dubai Central, that is a church that developed me in my character, because the church gives you a value system.
Okay.
And I must tell you, in business and in positions that I've held, I've come across things that if you don't have a strong and a value system that is based on our Savior Jesus Christ, you will find yourself in all sorts of things. And now that influence is very critical in your decision making, in the managing and leadership of people. In all what you do, it's fairness. This morning I was making a presentation on ethics. There is nothing like business ethics. Ethics is ethics. It doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah.
In church, in business, in the community, the ethics must be the same. And the church provided me with a value system that is so ethical that I can apply it everywhere in my life. And then another thing which the church gave me is the confidence level. When you get into a church, the platform they give you to lead, to speak, to present, to the extent that when you come into a work situation, the church has already worked you up, has already developed you. We have produced great artists in church. I managed to even write a song in church. I have a song.
So you've composed?
Yes, I've composed a song. That is the influence of the church.
Okay.
I have also been able, to lead in the church as an elder, as a departmental leader. Okay. And those leadership qualities, with the value system that you have, you transport those into your business environment, into your family setup, so that your ethical conduct is the same. And that is what the church has built in me.
All right, so you speak of the platform and you speak of the ethical grounding that the church was able to provide you with. And I think for those who are watching, then what I'm also getting is it's important for people to raise their hands whenever they get an opportunity to serve the church, because it's in the church people see it as I'm not getting paid for this. It's my time. It's family time. Other people can go and sit. But what you're getting is it's a platform where you get to learn, make the mistakes for free, and it helps you to build your particular character. And you're saying that the leadership qualities that will be required there in the future. Are there other things that the church should be enhancing and that they can do to prepare its members to be able to become more robust and more profitable in our economy and the social settings?
I think the church has developed many business people.
Yeah.
But the only challenge we have is how then do we empower these black people, these black business people in our churches, to empower the youth that is coming up in the church. Quite often, that platform does not exist in the church.
Yeah.
You find executives that are doing ordinary things. They will preach. We need to begin to have forums.
Sure.
And I must say this, I'm a Lutheran by background.
Okay.
My families are Lutherans.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, while I'm here in the Seventh-day Adventist, I was invited into a conference of Lutherans.
Yeah.
They were discussing nothing but business issues. They were spending a weekend. They were talking about investments. They were talking about funding, how to get out of debt, personal financial management, everything about business. Young people. They invited me. I was one of the guest speakers. I've never done that in my church.
I mean, that's. I think it's a slight tragedy to speak of, because for most of us, even when we were students, and as people would say, you go to our churches now, right? From looking at how people dress, the cars that are there, and you're a struggling student, and you're trying to see, but where can I get the role models, the people that can be able to guide me, even in terms of the particular careers, right? And you only discover that, no man, in my church. Now, only when you're in the business for that, we've had these people, and what I'm getting is we should really enhance these particular opportunities. So let me ask this particular question: If you had an opportunity then to sit with executives, so business executives who are Seventh-day Adventists, right, and you guys could have a round table discussion. Based on what you're saying, that you went to a Lutheran church and these are the things that were discussed, what would you say to fellow executives and directors who are in the church in terms of the work that can be done or should be done, and things that can be done to enrich the church and its members to becoming more effective and more have a better social impact?
Yeah, I'm happy you asked that question, because first of all, we have STAZA in the first place.
Yeah.
And it's disappointing to talk about this because of what has happened in my experience in the church. But let me just point a few things that I believe are critical that we need to do. We need to stop being individualistic. Okay? This individualistic business mentality doesn't work. One person is successful. One person is running a business. We are one-man shows. I'm still looking for a formidable Adventist business partnership. People who would come together and bring their brains together as business people, as professionals, and come up with an establishment that could be doing the kind of things I'm doing now with my other people who are not Adventists.
Yes.
Investments, or building, legacies. So what I would say, we need to look for that. People need to build each other and not criticize each other. We need to stop thinking of being a better black than others.
Hey.
Yeah. And then we need to think of others, that through others we become.
Because I really wanted to ask, what do you think is then what's holding us back in terms of why would we not see the value of working together, especially since these are not different executives, these are church executives that
Yeah.
you're speaking to, and this has not no come about, and what are the challenges and barriers that are making this to be slightly a challenge?
Here's a sad story. In the late 90s, we started an outfit,
Yeah.
Adventist. We were between 23 to 30. And we invited all the members to put in like about 10,000 each in that. And we thought we could start looking into opportunities, whether it's tenders, whether investments.
Yes.
And it was around 1998 when we started
Okay.
this. The sad part is the expectations of our brethren. I was the chairman of the board, and the board was so abused because the members' expectations were way beyond what we could do. We gave you money, what's happening with our money? To the extent that some withdrew. We had to pay people back their money.
So they wanted to see the
Because
returns
nothing
immediately
was
in terms of-
happening,
yeah.
and that's what I'm going to address as the next point. So, but in 2000, I think 4 years later, let me put it that way,
Yeah.
we managed to
2002,
bring
yeah.
one deal to this organization, which we started. One deal. And that deal, that transaction involved investing in another investment company.
Okay.
And that investment company did a few investments. In 4 years, that investment paid people who put in 10,000, 240,000
Where was I?
in
Yeah.
4 years. But the problem we had is that the expectations of the brethren then was way beyond understanding. They were abusive. They called us all sorts of things. And then some of them even said, our money is just as good as written off because we have given you the money and you are doing nothing about it. And yet, Sipho Senkosi, all of us were working in our various portfolios
Organizations, yeah.
like them. But simply because they gave us the money, they wanted us to come with miracles.
Sure.
The next point I want to address, when you embark on any business venture, don't look for a quick buck. If you go and check Bill Gates, Steve Jobs,
Our Elon Musk.
Elon Musk,
Yeah.
even Herman Mashaba, our entrepreneur
Yes.
here at home, how he started Black Like Me, the perseverance. You take time to make money. Now, we are like the tenderpreneurs.
Okay.
You get a tender, you get money now, and that's it. And that doesn't develop you. We have to have the mentality of developing businesses.
From the ground up.
And what do I mean by that? If you look at the guy like Saul Kessner, who is daring and risk-taking, he put Sun City in the bush. As much as he is the entrepreneur, what he did, he built capacity around him,
Yes.
knowledge, expertise, that he is able to put such structures, infrastructure globally. I mean, I went to the Bahamas, I found the Atlantis there, he put it there. Now you look at all these guys. I mean, Steve Jobs started with the personal computer. Let me tell you this, when he came with that Apple computer, IBM was there. They laughed it off. When Gates came with his Windows,
Yeah.
IBM laughed him off because they looked at him, they say, what is he trying to do? He's so small, insignificant.
We're too big to
But
fail.
they persevered. They are daring. They are risk-taking. And over time, they have become who they are today. And those are some of the qualities I may discuss with you of business people, entrepreneurs, what qualities they have, what qualities they have displayed. Not the quick buck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to double click on that
Yeah.
to say you've mentioned, I think, two critical things. One is the patience and the long game, that people need to understand that money takes time. There's a process that is involved, and they mustn't be distracted by others who are able to, easy come, easy go kind of a situation, right? And the building of that. And then secondly, you were speaking of issues of then surrounding yourself with the right people. I want to then ask this question: how do you select then the partnerships that you have? And maybe it will overlap with the question that you, the characteristics and the personalities that you are choosing. So when you partner with an organization, right? If you're called to be the chair or you're called to be the exec, what are the things that you look at in terms of when you build those particular partnerships, and even when you're getting a team of people that you would want to work with? How do you select? What are these qualities that you look for that you feel are essential and have been helpful to you in building and selecting partnerships?
Let me just give you a typical example of what we do now when we look for investments. The prospect investments we are looking for, the guys will call us. First of all, they check chemistry between us and them.
Okay.
They check your profile. Are you sharing the same values with them?
Okay.
Yeah. And then the other thing they do, they check you whether, have you been listed anywhere? Any of you. The Americans and the Europeans.
So the background
and your profile is very critical.
Important, yeah.
And even when you choose a partner, those things are critical. Are you sharing the same value system? Are you sharing the same values? Are you having that chemistry that you can work together? Because in transactions of investments, where you are going to have partners for the minimum 5 to 10 years,
yes,
there could be tensions. How would you be able to deal with that? Now, with this group, I tell you, I won't do business with those people again. Because, the first thing they say, what did you do with our money? And they understand that they didn't understand that it takes time.
Yeah.
And another thing which worried me is that some of them were making their separate deal outside. They were not bringing the deals to the table. That is the individualistic mentality I spoke about.
And these are deals that could have benefited the whole group.
Exactly.
Right?
They could have brought them here.
Yeah.
If they could bring them here, we could talk about those things and see how everybody benefits. Because this deal which we have was brought by somebody. Somebody brought it here. And that person could have taken it alone or somewhere else.
We're going to double click on that particular one, but we're going to have to take also a quick break. As you can see, the conversation is getting a lot more interesting. So just going to give you a time to go drink some water. But when we come back, we're going to delve into these issues of ethics, partnerships, and these key success factors that are required for us to be able to build resilient relationships and businesses that will help us succeed. Stay tuned. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back to our Stasa India virtual conference with me, Sipho, and our esteemed guest for today, Mr. Makup, Nyama. If you've just joined us now, I don't know where you've been, but it's not too late. There's still some more interesting and impactful conversations that we are going to be having. Now, Mr. Nyama, before we took a break, you had told us about some of the business ventures and ideas which you had tried to start also within the church, right? And there are many people who disgruntled that say that it's very risky to do business with fellow Adventist or fellow brothers and sisters. And you mentioned that whole issue that we need to come together and start collaborating. Your view in terms of then that particular mindset maybe that speaks about it is difficult to do business with fellow Adventists because either they look at the church side too much, and then we don't become too professional, or like you're saying, they become unrealistic in terms of their expectations, etc. What would you say to people who are watching, who also want to who have ideas that they want to partner with people in the church, and are in this mindset to say, maybe would I be more successful going outside versus trying to work with people within the church, and why is it important for us to try and better and master this issue of working together internally as well?
Yeah, one of the things that the corporate South Africa is looking for when it looks for especially BE partners is what we, even within the church, can look for.
Yeah.
Yeah. And which is, do we have the same understanding of business issues? You see, the outfit I told you about, it was of business people who lacked business maturity at the time. And I know them now. They are mature enough, and they are doing things. They won't behave the way they did in the past.
And maybe, sorry to cut you here, but I think when you're saying business maturity, that also means that we would have ventures that might be unsuccessful and they might fail.
Yes.
And we must be able to be mature enough to know that it's not everything we venture in that will be...
Indeed. We need to understand what failure is all about. Failure is an opportunity to learn.
Yes.
And then if you have people with expectations that do not have failure in them, who are demanding all the time, even when things are slow, they just want things to happen. And they have this mentality that, no, you've got our money, get things done. And yet they can't get anything done for you. So we need to manage that. So the kind of partners you need are the partners you share the same values, the same understanding, business ethics. Some BE outfits had serious problems because they brought lots of people together who did not share the same understanding of business ethics. And the expectations were vast and different.
Yeah.
People came with demands. Where is our money?
Obvious. Yeah.
And there are those accusations.
Yeah.
Now, those things can happen. Now, when you partner with people, look for like-minded people.
Sure.
People who think like you. And don't ever think in the Adventists we think the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, look for business people. You believe you share the same business values, understanding business issues and challenges. And that way you'll be able to form partnerships. Otherwise, you are going to fight.
Yeah.
You'll start something, and as it grows, then you start fighting. You know, you need people who will understand. If you look at the audit firms, for example, you know, you look at KPMG. All those letters represent some people. PwC, Ernst & Young, you know, all those. They were partners who came together, who understood, who have the same vision, and came together and built a partnership, and it works. In other business, you can do the same.
Yeah.
You know, and once you have that, the more we come together of like minds, we're able to build capacity. When we speak, people listen, not to one-man show, but to a group of people with expertise, knowledge, and you know, and experience. Then people will listen. If you have a tender of 100 million, and there is a group of Adventists, of experts who are 20, and there is here Sipho Senkos, he's alone, and he wants to bid for that tender of 100 million. Who would you give it to?
Yeah.
Simple. You won't give it to a one-man show. You give it to a group of people with expertise. You know, Sipho Senkos, if he's run over by a truck, then
we start from scratch.
How do you explain that to your organization that you gave that big tender to one person?
Yeah. I think what I'm getting is, even internally, you must do your own risk assessment of the very people that you want to partner with. Understand their level of business acumen and their value systems and ethics. And I want to go into that particular part. So from a church perspective, right? There's the verses that would say the love of money is the root of all evil. You have the whole parable of it is easier for a camel to enter the eye of a needle than for a rich person to go into to heaven. And I mention this because there are many people who are afraid to go into business, right? Because their ambition has been watered down based on their view of what it is to be ambitious and the fear, right, of these particular verses. When you were coming up, how did you contextualize these particular verses, right, and make sense out of them? But also, as you're saying, also navigate these particular, I think, dangers which people are being warned of in these particular texts as we speak about issues of money, finance, and you're saying, because we're dealing with people, people who are unethical and navigating those particular factors.
Yeah, it's such an easy answer for that. Very easy answer. Let's go to Genesis 13, verse 2.
Yeah.
Abraham was very rich in livestock, gold, and silver. Isaac was wealthy. He had everything and very wealthy. Job was the richest man in the East.
In Uz, yeah.
And now, what's the difference? And they feared God. They never put anything before God. God came first. In other words, there was no time when Abraham would compromise God for money.
Okay.
All right? And that is very critical. And another thing we need to understand is that you and I have nothing. Absolutely nothing. You came here on this planet with nothing. And that's what the Bible says. And you are going to live with what?
With nothing.
With nothing.
This is Job.
Now,
Naked I came. Yeah.
here's a text from 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 7. Who makes you different from anyone else? What is it that you have that you did not receive? And if you received it, why do you boast as if you did not? So all of us sitting here,
you're coming with fire now.
our names are Refilwe.
Yeah.
Everything we have, we've been
received,
given.
yes.
Sipho.
Yes.
We are a gift.
Yeah.
We have received. And now, as long as we recognize that what we have is what God has given us, and we should give him glory and honor for what he has given us, not to be pompous, whether it's education, whether it's anything, we have been given. And that's what Abraham, Isaac, and the Jobs of this world. Job said, God gave and God took.
So the same attitude he had when he has money and the same attitude he has
Yeah.
when he does. So he was not defined by the positions
No.
which he has. I mean, I really love the answer that you gave to say that essentially the skills, the talents, the brain capacity, even the people we encounter, all of those refill, right? And therefore, if we acknowledge that, then we'll understand that these things can also go very quickly. And
Exactly.
essentially, then we the one who is important is the one who is the giver, who's giving us these things.
The giver
and the gifts
is
themselves.
greater than the gift.
Yeah.
That's what Ellen White says. The giver is greater than the gift. We must stop hero worshiping the gift,
Okay.
but we must hero worship the giver. And that's what is important. As God blesses us with things, Ellen White says, it is a test that what God has blessed us with, we will be able to use it to glorify him, not for our own personal agendas and be boasting and trying to show off, but it is for his name's sake. And if you look at those guys I mentioned,
the patriarchs were wealthy people.
Wealthy people.
And I think it answers the question that we were also speaking of in terms of ethics. We live in a society where it is very difficult for anyone to make business in an entirely ethical manner, where people will tell you that there's bribes that are required here, and there's and when people are trying to get into particular businesses, it's to be an ethical business person is essentially a bit difficult, right? And this is why other people are discouraged from venturing into particular businesses. And what I got from your answer and your response is essentially if if the source of the things that come to you is God, then it's easier to be ethical. But if you think you're depending on another man, then that's why you would be more inclined to then be unethical in your business practices. I'm not sure if you want to
Well,
have
I
a second
believe that,
bite on that. Yeah,
yeah, I believe if God wants you to have that tender, you'll have it. Nobody will stop you.
sure.
Yeah, you will have it. Nobody will stop you. I mean, I know people, of course, and including myself, who lost multi-million deals because we couldn't do the things people wanted us to do. But that was not the end of the world. God wanted us to do something else. You know, God will take care of his people if you stand the test of time.
Amen.
Then God will give you a chance and will give you opportunities that are good for you. What is not good for you, God is not going to give. And you know, I said this morning in my ethics presentation that as Christians, we must not have these chameleon tendencies,
Yeah.
which are determined by place and environment. That when, in other words, we have situational ethics.
Yeah.
If it suits me,
Depending on where you are and who you're with.
yeah, and because if I don't do this, I won't get this, then you have destroyed yourself. That's why today, if you go into business and you say you're a Christian, they laugh at you.
That this one's not going to succeed.
Because they just know that Christians who have come before you have done horrible things.
So it loses even the essence of
It
saying you
doesn't,
are.
yeah, because we have been just
Yeah.
like anybody else.
And I guess that's the challenge.
And that's the challenge
now
we have. Yeah, to say no to something that is not right.
Hey,
Yeah.
all right. I see the time is also starting to run away. Let me ask you maybe some other questions, some personal questions. From a financial perspective, what are the financial mistakes which you look back and you say, hey, this one was rough, and maybe even behaviors which you think are detrimental, right? That other people might also be having. So maybe some of us are starting to come into money now, right? And we start having bad financial habits. So what are those in your journey which you look back at and you're like, if I had made better decisions back then with the first amounts there, I could have been better?
There was one actually major mistake which I committed, and then it
kicking
almost bankrupted us.
Yeah,
And also partnerships,
sure.
wrong partnerships. You meet a guy says, I'm a Christian. Another one says, I'm actually a Seventh-day Adventist elder.
Sure.
And you sit with them, you put a deal together, and then you put money together, and then things go wrong. And what you discover, what they have done, is horrendous.
Sure.
So you need to screen people very, very well. We put an investment together, it went bankrupt in 4 months. 4 months, ibeli tiba.
Disappeared, yeah.
We discovered that people put in money and they withdrew it, but they didn't say it. And you put in money there, and then you don't know what they're doing. You know, the kind of people, that's why I'm saying it's critical. And I'm talking about one of us.
Yeah. And this is a real
partner.
story, yeah, sure.
One claimed to be a Christian.
Yeah.
So screen people. Partnerships are critical. Screen people. I mean, I was just invited by a friend on another venture, and I said, who are in this thing?
Yeah.
And when he told me, I said, you know what? I would rather stay out. I would rather stay out. And for obvious reasons, I've been beaten before. So it's very critical that when you go into partnerships, you check who this person is.
So also to push you on the behavior side, what are these behaviors that you would maybe want people to which you'd promote in terms of whether spending, whether in terms of just how, I think you mentioned one thing of patience and the time horizons. But are there any other, sort of tips that you want to
the other
give
thing
the
is
viewers?
when you start an initiative,
Yeah.
people must understand their limitations. What you can do, what you cannot do.
Okay.
The Nando's guy said, I built Nando's nationally. I wanted to take it abroad, but I couldn't. I was the wrong guy to do it. The founder says that. So I had to look for somebody with capability who will take Nando's globally. If you run a spaza shop, it doesn't mean you can run a supermarket. You need to know and understand your limitations.
Okay.
When you are an entrepreneur, you know that. And then you will surround yourself and you will bring people who are able to do that which you can't do. Bill Gates ran Microsoft. But when he realized that now it reached a stage where it's got to be bigger than what he built, he brought Steve Ballmer to do that. And you look at all of them. You bring people, but now if you fight to be that person who must always run things, you may not have the qualities to do that. Know your limitations.
I think what I'm getting from that is when you know your limitations, then it makes it easier to find out who you need to partner with.
Exactly.
Because then it supplements the areas in which you're weak. Yeah, I had so many questions. Time is running out. Because with the Elon Musk situation, I was going to ask, in terms of him, he was, a South African, and the environment was not conducive enough. Now he's the second or the third richest man in the world, and this was going to help us, in our particular area. The other question would be the ventures that you're in, right? These are multinationals, right? These are and they span across, like you're saying, finance industry, to food manufacturing, to it's a variety of
businesses,
industries. So what are the key characteristics or the constants that are required? Because I think for most of us, yes, we start with knowing a particular industry, but for someone like you now who covers a broad range of industries, what are the key components that you can see that cuts across all these ventures?
We set some criteria as to who do we want to partner, what kind of businesses. First of all, we said we are looking for a business of this size. Yeah, it must do profitability this size, okay? And secondly, it must be the business we understand. If it's the business you don't understand, we don't do it.
Sure.
So, and then we put some criteria as to management. What is the strategy? Who is management? What is the strategy of management? Where are they going with the business? Are they just local or are they just global?
Okay.
And what are their ambitions? And we look into that, and when we do the due diligence, it must meet those criteria. You have to have those parameters to work within. And then we run models in terms of, in 5 years, how much are we going to get out of this business if we exit this business? Or if we exit in 10 years' time? We run those models, and then we say, if it's structured like this, this is how much it will give us. And then if it doesn't meet those criteria, we just tell them, no, we can't do it because the funding models do not allow us. So you have to set parameters and criteria as to what do you want to do. The first thing is we want the size of business, management, the strategy, where are they going, they are global, that's what we want.
These are the basics,
Yeah, these are the things we are looking for. And then we look also their integrity, their profile, who are they? That's very important. And those are the things that help us. And then the chemistry between us and them.
So unfortunately, we've run out of time, and we might need a second session for this. But I want to thank you very much for the time that you have taken to come and speak to us and share with the viewers. I'll just give you like 20 seconds to have a closing shot, and maybe even some word of advice for Ustasa in this end-year conference that we were pushing, and some tips that we might be able to take in moving this organization forward.
Yeah, I've come across a number of Adventists in our circles who come with all sorts of initiatives.
Yeah.
And I want to say to them, be perseverant on your initiative. Understand who's going to buy that, because most of them have a great idea. But if you ask who's going to buy this thing, who is it for? No, it's a great idea. You know, it must have a value proposition. Somebody out there must say, I want that.
Sure.
Or you must create a need for that.
All right. So unfortunately, yeah, we'll have to invite you again, Mr. Nyama. All right. We want to take this time to really thank you for spending your December with us and watching this particular program. As they say, that time flies when you're having fun. From us as Ustasa, we hope that you and your families are safe in these trying times. Remember to sanitize and do all the necessary things to keep you and your family safe. We still have other programs in store for you. I know that Mr. Nyama has a presentation that would be playing on, I think, one of the Sabbaths. So from us, we want to thank you for the time that you've spent with us, and keep watching these particular programs and have a fantastic rest of the year. And may these programs help you in starting the new year on a better footing. From me, Sipho, thank you.